What is this day? This is Tuesday, right?
23rd.
Tuesday, and the draft starts Thursday? Last year they had it. Where was it last? It's usually in Indy. Where did they have it last year? Philly or Chicago? I mean, they have it in
Chicago, I think.
Or Philly was last year, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, because they had like the most people ever turn out for a draft. They had people on like the steps there that Rocky ran up. There were like people everywhere, like in there for the draft. That's coming off the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, you know. So, those Philadelphia fans are trying to show the world how great they are, but if you know Philadelphia fans, especially Eagle fans, or have been a pleasure to experiencing them, you know they're probably the worst sport fan known to man. The worst.
So,
You were complaining about Metcalf.
I was looking at the wide receiver rankings, not being able to drum up more than half a dozen names just quickly off the top of my head, and it made me start to think about how weak this wide receiver class might be. So I went and looked up the rankings. Honestly, I haven't done much draft research in the past, and I have not done it on this. So I'm not sure how deep those usually go, but I'm willing to bet this is kind of a shallow year in terms of the depth.
Well, yeah, I think it is, and you can look at some of it, but buddy, that's kind of the joy of this, I think, is not overly swayed one way or another by doing too much research.
Right.
Paralysis from analysis.
But, and then in looking at that, I saw the rankings, which had, so Ole Miss had two great receivers last year. They had Metcalf and they had Brown. And Brown was, I believe, 1,000+ yard receiver. And Metcalf last year, as I found out, got under 600 yards. However, he did get injured. But he's never had a 1,000-yard year. He's never been the number one target.
Mm-hmm. Had 569 yards last season. His high was the year before. He's a fourth-year junior, remember?
Yeah.
So I believe, and Brown is he's a senior maybe, right? No? I think he might be just a true senior. I'm not sure. The reason I say that is I thought they came in together. But you look at Brown this year, he had 1,320 yards.
So let me tell you real quick why I think DK Metcalf is vaulted to the top. Because he's 6'3", 228, probably has 10% body fat, maybe. Probably less than that. And at the combine, he ran a 4.33.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. Probably 4% body fat. So I obviously don't know what that looks like. But I believe 4% is something that like long distance runners have. So I think in the modern day NFL, there's so much been put on your performance in the draft, and people vault like from third round to first round, or fall from first round to fifth round because they bench press 5 less reps than what's deemed accessible or are acceptable, or they ran a 40 that was a 10th slower than what a receiver should run, or they take these stats from a scientific environment and place a ton of emphasis on them in terms of how you're gonna do in battle. That's like taking a sniper on a shooting course and having him shoot at a target and then throwing him in the middle of a war and expecting that accuracy to be the same. Like, it's not going to happen. It's different.
Right. I get where you're going. And it's true. I mean, like, that's, and that's one of the things I hope we convey in this, because we do like to talk about college. It's truly our passion, as much as we love the game overall. And I believe that there is.
Did you know Comcast Business goes beyond fast with a gig speed network?
No way. I did not know that.
We'll turn off the speaker. There you go.
I believe that nowadays the weight that the combine holds in the evaluation and essentially the pick of players and the way they rank them and these mocks and all this nonsense is at least 50%, if not more.
I agree, and that's ridiculous.
That's
they play football for 3 or
at
4
least three
years.
And I'm okay after 3 years. They do not need
of performance.
Correct. They do not need to. Maybe 2 if they let them. If they mix in their pro day at their school. Okay, they're not. Look, you don't need 3 years. Is fine, and of course there's chatter because of basketball. Maybe it's less. As Clemson fans, Trevor Lawrence, first round pick. He shouldn't get hurt. He should go in. No, that's not. And I don't like that being put into like these kids' head because the world is media and social media. So to think that they could, he's probably a good kid. I know we're pretty good about how we look at these kids, but it's the off season. They're allowed on their socials in the off season. And they see that shit. So but the point being is the 3-year mark's good. Let's not change that. Let's keep it the way it is. And I forgot my thought. I lost my train of thought. Where were we?
Well, we were initially talking about how they put 50% of their analysis of these players
3 years,
on
even
the combine.
if 2 of those even if it's only 2 of those 3 years, it's still more. Even if it's 1, it's more than 1 weekend.
Well, it can be a red shirt and 2 playing years.
Yeah,
it's just 3 years out
gets
of
hurt.
high school.
Even if it's like they play 3 years in, but 2 years of those 3 years, you're like, wow, who's this guy? Like he's showing up, he's caught on. You learn the speed of the game at every level. I don't get it. That's the point. I get why you look at these things in the combine. I don't get because we just said it. 569 yards last year for Metcalf on 26 catches. Okay? And his teammate, AJ Brown, had 1,320 yards on 85 catches. So we obviously see, those are, if you didn't know anything, they're, about the details of the game, but you knew how kind of an overall the game, what everybody's job essentially is, that would tell you, okay, so the quarterback on that team likes this guy a little more, feels more comfortable with this guy, and usually it's because he's more reliable, he has better hands, he runs better routes, okay? The year before that, 2017, which was Metcalf's better year in college, he had 646 yards on 39 receptions. Brown had 1,252 yards on 75 receptions. So again, just completely annihilated him. And between 17 and 18, Brown had 11 and 6 TDs in each season respectively. And Metcalf had, what do we got here? TDs, 7 and 5. So kind of close in the same. They're eating out of each other's hands. And let's be honest, with all the sanctions that Ole Miss has suffered, a lot of it due to what was the guy, the lineman guy that had the pot bong mask on in the draft, and then it all came down. So they certainly haven't had huge offensive lineman recruits go there out of high school since that. They've been suffering a bit.
It's just
at the end of the day, it's your point. And you were reading off some of the statistics earlier from the combine.
I'm looking at them here. So we put certain emphasis on certain aspects of the combine. Mm-hmm. Offensive lineman bench press, wide receiver 40 time, His 3-cone drill was 7.38 seconds. To put this into perspective, Tom Brady's 3-cone drill was 7.2 seconds. So,
And if you've seen recently those little highlights of Brady, he looks slow as all get out.
Unathletic as you can get.
Yeah.
And not only that, but his 20-yard shuttle time was slow.
And he's white.
What? No, I'm talking about Metcalf.
Oh, yeah. Metcalf's black.
So you have Metcalf that has these agility drills that he can't do, but his straightaway speed's good. You know, he's big. He probably jumped high. I don't see where that is, but I wouldn't be surprised. And he probably bench pressed a bunch. But
I bet you who?
the 20
Metcalf?
Yeah.
I don't think he's skinny, dude. I don't know that he bench pressed a whole lot.
He's ripped. Either way, 3-cone drill, 20-yard shuttle, those are about agility, movement. Those are things you need to be able to do as a receiver. Who are the best receivers right now? Just give me 3 names.
You're talking about based on those combines?
NFL 3 best receivers.
3 in the NFL?
Overall.
Odell Beckham Jr., Antonio Brown, and I mean, there's a toss-up right now. You could say Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay. All those guys make it happen in the air, jumping, twisting, changing movement,
Correct.
changing direction, running one way, jumping the other way for a catch.
Rebounding the ball. They pinpoint the ball at its highest point, and their timing is impeccable when they make that jump.
I bet if
And that's not, that's, running down a field full throttle or even 80% with an NFL defensive back, corner, safety, whomever on you, even if it's a linebacker, and you're moving full throttle in one direction and you've got to time it to get up in the air, turn your body and watch the ball, knowing you're just, and catch it, hold on to it, knowing you're going to probably get crashed into by the defender and hit the ground just flat on your back or your head. It's not easy. I mean, so, those are guys that are really good at doing that, I believe. Mm-hmm. Or in some way, shape, or form do that and have an exceptional quality on top of it. Antonio Brown runs magnificent routes, knows how to find, holes in like zone coverage or if there's soft coverage, knows how to communicate well with his quarterback and they're on the same page so that, if they have to, audible just even on their own between the two of them because of the coverage on him in particular based on the setting of a game because they need him, then, he's good at doing that.
Here's his total stats. 6'3", 228, 34 and 7/8 inch arms. That's decent. 7 and 7/8 inch hands. That's about average, actually. And hands is another big one for receivers.
Yes.
They look at that a lot. 7.33 40-yard. Fantastic. 27 reps on the bench. That's pretty good.
Not bad for a
receiver.
wide out. Yeah.
40-inch vertical jump, like I said, that's
Jumped
solid.
out of the building.
Yep. Broad
Right.
jump, 134. That's good. 3-cone drill, 7.38. Not good. 20-yard shuttle, 4.5. Not good.
So he's good at running downfield.
So
He can run downfield and he can jump high. And, in a certain scheme under the right coach, maybe that's all right. And a lot of people are saying that, are predicting. I need to pull up our draft order, the current order. The only thing I know that might be different because it might not be updated as of the trade today, but we know the Seahawks traded their first round pick at the end of the first round or Kansas City traded their pick so that the Seahawks can pick up Frank Clark from the Seahawks. But that said, the Bills are where I see a lot of people are saying Buffalo to take a wide receiver. Sorry, and you got a guy like Josh Allen who can just rear up and chuck the ball, but also,
to be really expensive, but then I went to GoodRx.com.
but also he's a run threat, so it may also cause the defensive backs on the, to bite if they have the right play, just to let him get that extra step and go downfield and let Allen chuck it. That makes sense. I get it. That's not a bad one.
Okay. How about this for you? This is fantastic. This is fantastic here. Odell Beckham Jr.'s draft stats. 40 time, 4.43, a tenth slower. Bench reps, 7, 19 less. Vertical jump, 38.5. That's an inch and a half less.
He was 40 or 41?
He was 40.5.
Okay. All right.
Broad jump, 122. So that's like 14, 16 inches shorter. Three cone drill, 6.69. Considerably better. 20-yard shuttle, 3.94. Considerably better.
Oh, yeah. What is that, half almost? 20-yard shuttle, what did he have, a 6?
4.5.
Oh, 4.5.
4.5. So, and then I just looked up Antonio Brown. All they have is his 20-yard shuttle, which is 4.18, which is actually a little slower than Odell Beckham. They don't have a lot of his information on him.
Again, a lot put into the combine stock, man.
Yep.
Whether that tells you something
What
about Odell, look at him, and his stats aren't that great, and how can you project, or whether it says they put too much weight in those combine statistics. Either which way, what it does tell you is you don't know a lot of times. You don't know what you're gonna get.
No.
So I guess ultimately, before we just talk about DK Metcalf the whole time, the Bills are sitting at 9, I think, right currently. I think that would make a lot of sense. The question is, if he's the best receiver, and we'll talk further.
Nuke real quick?
We'll talk further about the other receivers. Yes, tell me what Nuke's was, because I know it wasn't
Nuke's
fantastic.
hands are 10 inches,
That's
by the way.
unbelievable. And what was Metcalf, 7?
It was actually
7 and
9 and 7/8, so his hands are pretty big.
Who, Metcalf?
Metcalf,
Okay, what
yeah.
was, I thought Beckham maybe was a small one.
Beckham's hands are 10 inches as well.
Okay, big hands.
Nuke ran a 4.57, little slower. 15 reps on the bench, a lot less. 36-inch vert, considerably less. 115-inch broad jump, less. 4.5 second 20-yard shuttle. That's
About the same.
about the same.
The
So,
problem is you can't, his
Making people
his broad
moves-
jump or his high jump may be, less than that of Metcalf, but it's, it's not just about the jump. It's
How many
about
times does he
timing,
jump and get it though.
running the route. Yeah. Running the route correctly or in tune with your quarterback, your timing on the jump, your positioning on the jump. I mean, just because you can jump high, when you're doing those high jumps, you're jumping up trying to tap a thingy,
Yep.
That has nothing when you've got a corner draped all over you, or you have, like I said, you're running full throttle in one direction and you have to jump and high point the ball at the right time and turn your body around.
Yeah. Well,
While your momentum's carrying you forward. I mean, it's not easy.
I wish we had Nuke's 3 cone because that's the real turning and when you got to be twisting and changing your momentum from one way to another really quickly.
Which is, that can, follow in suit with is the guy run good routes.
Yep.
Because that makes it easier if you are good at that. So,
Okay,
to
so
where
we
I
spent
was,
a minute on
to
that.
my point, number 9 is the Buffalo Bills. We've got a very deep draft on the defensive side, especially the defensive line, with recent activity about potentially either just playing a poker face or truly loss of interest by some teams at the quarterback position. At 9, do the Bills It's not if Metcalf is the guy, and we'll talk about the others. Even if it's somebody else, is wide receiver worth it at 9 in this draft?
No, I don't think so. I would think they'll go trenches to protect their new quarterback, and that's where you got to build from. I'm not sure what their wide receiver stable has in it right now.
I mean, they've got Zay Jones.
Okay,
Is
that their number one
right now? Yeah, because they lost a bunch of folks, and a bunch of folks went down. They have.
That's not a good number one.
Well, and but Zay Jones is probably okay. So let's talk about
potentially, yes, but
well, that's who it is that I know of. We'll pull somebody. I'll pull it up while you're thinking. But again, my question: is it worth it? Is that at 9? It might be different if the first wide receiver hasn't been taken and you're sitting at number 19.
Yeah,
but at 9 there will be good players outside of wide receiver.
If you go to like the top 10 overall rankings from 1 to 9, so these are one of these people is going to be out there: Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, Josh Allen, Ed Oliver, Devin White, Jawan Taylor, Kyler Murray, DeMontez Sweat, and Rashawn Gary.
Mm-hmm. All good. All good or expected to be good.
To me,
at least a better bet than DK Metcalf.
I know you right. I know you don't want Kyler Murray because you've done that already. Good or bad, you have Josh Allen.
I think he'll be all right.
You probably don't need Devin White at the linebacker position. But all those other guys are positions of need. They're edge rushers, defensive linemen, offensive line. So, to me, if any of those guys are available, you take them before you take Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at their roster right now, they need a lot. Tight end, running back, cornerback, interior offensive lineman, so guard, center maybe, or somebody that could be a guard, but also backup center, defensive tackle, offensive tackle, but really at the top of a lot of it is wide receiver.
Jonah Williams, Ed Oliver,
because LaShawn McCoy is on his last leg. Kelvin Benjamin is out there. They could bring him back. I don't think they bought that. That's been a move yet.
Yeah.
But at the same token, they could take somebody in the second round. I think that'll still be a top 5 projected receiver in this draft. Right? They're number 40 in the second round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8th pick in the second round. They could take a wide receiver there again, and so let's talk. This is a good transition. Let's talk about some of these other wide receivers in this class. We were talking earlier because, like I said, I mean, I think AJ Brown, Metcalf's teammate, is the better receiver. We just ran through all the stats. He is an Anquan Bolden type guy. He's a thick guy.
Yeah. Well, you go down how I'm looking at CBS.com, how they have them ranked. You have DJ Metcalf, Marquise Brown, AJ Brown, Keneal Henry, Terry McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, down, Deebo Samuel. So, first of all, you have 3 smaller guys on there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, started by Marquise Brown, 5'9", 166.
He's really playing off Cuz's name, man.
I know he is good.
It's Antonio Brown's cousin. He's playing off of his name.
I understand that.
But what if he gets drafted by the Raiders and is playing with Antonio Brown?
Huh. All I know is at that size, you need to, at the next level.
What's his weight?
166 pounds.
People are talking about, I mean, what Kyler Murray's like 190 or something, I thought, and everyone's like, oh, he's going to get broken.
Well, and
I know some receivers can play that. I mean, your Wes Welker, your Julian Edelman.
The ability to not take the square hit.
And that's a slot receiver, though.
Right.
Which is, I think, what he plays.
He will. I mean,
that's what Antonio plays. That's why he's successful. But he was their downfield threat. He's fast as hell. Yeah. But everybody in the NFL is fast. Okay? You know, even the worst player on an NFL team was pretty darn good in college, my man.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know that. I'm trying to see what he ran the 40 in.
Who, Brown?
Yeah. It's just
it was up there.
You're risking something when you pick up a guy that small. I think
you have to have other pieces, and then it makes sense. I mean, again, a la Brandon Cooks. He's moved around from team to team, but not because he's not good. He's actually moved to different coaches, different quarterbacks, and different systems and been successful. Look at Tyreek Hill. Now, he's stayed in the same system, but he's not a big guy, but he's fast as hell. Another guy whose 40 time at the combine vaulted him in the draft more than expected, but he was one of those guys that paid off. Again, you don't really ever know, you know? And part of it, yeah, he's in the right system. You got a great coach that's a quarterback guru with this young kid that is just a gunslinger and can zip it accurately down to the field to Brown. And then you've got pieces like Travis Kelce, who is just an incredible tight end. Okay. And you got a couple other receivers. And then, you know, well, there was a backfield, but the way things were going with that offense and the coordinator and the way they were drawing up plays, it didn't matter. It was a score fest.
Yeah.
And if they do get their defense figured out, which obviously giving up their first and second round picks this year to take Frank Clark for, from the Seahawks, I get it. They lost D Ford, okay? But essentially, there was no negotiation right there, okay? Frank Clark's like, I want to Seattle. It's like, this is what I want. This is the money I want, okay? So basically, Kansas City didn't do any negotiating, They're just like, okay, we'll pay it. We'll pay you that money. Oh, and hey, Seattle, for it, we'll also give you our first and second round this year, and they might have gotten something else in future picks. That just doesn't make any sense to me. How is that a good deal? I mean, you just pay, you should have just, the guy you should have waited him out a little longer until the season. Well, because then he's going to probably, don't be surprised if the contract isn't fully negotiated and signed by training camp. That shit's done on purpose so they can be lazy. And, some guys have earned it. Tom Brady has earned, not being questioned if he shows up or not for practice.
Yeah, there's certain guys that I just, they're going to be in shape. They're going to be ready. There's no reason for them to go out there and risk it. Tom Brady, Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Especially
guys like that.
Running backs.
Like Saquon, maybe in his second year, but with the load he got last year and the load he'll end up probably having to have this year, and the fact that we want him a part of our championship run, whenever that may be. I thought it would be a couple 3 years, but it could be longer. And you know what happens to backs in this league, and especially when they're overworked, like the Giants overworked him. So he'll probably get a little blow in the offseason, and it'll be criticized. But we got off track. We were talking about the receivers. So I think that AJ Brown is the best receiver in this class. I think he will be a solid receiver because, to your point, what we were getting at with those little receivers is they can be good in given the right system. If they're meant to be the guy, that doesn't always work. Whereas an AJ Brown could be leaned on as the guy because he's a little more versatile, big boy, not just down the field, chuck it up and let me go get it, right? So I think he's the guy. I think that Hollywood Brown's cousin is, he's just like, again, he's Tyreek Hill. And I think he'll be good in the right system. Now, again, they are looking at. I saw him potentially to go play with his cousin in Oakland. I don't think that's the right move for him.
You don't need two of those little guys.
But he does go by the nickname Hollywood Brown. So being on the West Coast, maybe he's, there, and with his cousin, what he did, and I really didn't expect that of Antonio and his behavior really. And we're not going to get into it. I just think that, I thought Antonio Brown was a little classier than that. But I should have known when he had those Pizza Hut commercials with whatever kind of dance he was doing. But even worse is, what was that shaved into the back of your head? Is that supposed to be like your trendy statement? It looks retarded. Okay, so, but then you got N'Keal Harry. I just don't know enough about him.
Neither do I.
Hakeem Butler, I didn't watch enough of him, like of games themselves, but he was on a lot of highlight reels last year.
Yeah.
Okay, especially when college football would start talking Big Ten and going through, Big 12 and going through all those.
He's 6'5". He's 6'5".
The guy's 6'5", 225. That is a mammoth, bro.
He'll be a tight end by the end.
You think Cam Newton is what? He's like 6.
Cam Newton's a load too. I think he's every bit.
No, he's like a deuce and a half.
Oh no, 265. I think.
Yeah, like 265, but he's what, like 6'6",
6'5", 6'6", something like that.
That's a big guy running downfield. So there's, and then some of these ancillary receivers that I'm seeing listed. Riley Ridley out of Georgia, he's leaving a year early. First of all, he should never have done that.
No.
He was nowhere near Calvin Ridley, and Calvin Ridley came out of the box hot this year, but I think his story is yet to be written. We'll see. I think highly of him. I think he could be good, but I don't know. The way he kind of fell off at the end of the year, saw him give up on some routes. When you have Julio Jones out there, he'll take at least two people's attention in coverage, if not more. So that makes it easier on you, okay? Let's go.
If he was on a team without a true number one, that would not have been the same season.
Correct. So, and I don't think Riley Ridley, especially from a college career perspective, is nearly as good as what Calvin Ridley was. I question that.
In terms of going further down that receiver list, I think, it's a crapshoot. You're going to find some good guys down there. I think you might scroll way down and find someone just as good, ranked, the 200th player as you might find ranked up there around the 100th player.
Well, it's like we were discussing earlier. I see all these guys. One of the guys that jumped out was Kelvin Harmon at NC State, who we got to watch.
Yep.
That name was called more than 1 year. That we watched against Clemson, because that was, every time we played them, especially the past 2 of the 3 years, if not all 3, they were the team that if they knocked us off could potentially go for our side of the division.
Right, and you got that little guy out of Wake Forest too, that Greg Dortch or whatever. The whole offense ran through him for the 2 years that he was there, and he's going too, and just like,
but it was to my point earlier. The guy that's his teammate, the Jacoby Myers kid at NC State, who's not even on here, and I haven't heard a lot about him, so much to the point that I know of him, but we had to go look it up to see if he was actually declaring, because he's a fourth-year junior, so he doesn't have to. And I think he's better than his teammate, and over half the people I'm seeing listed. So, the evaluation process, NFL scouts, like, what do we got going on here? Like, are you serious? I'm telling you, that the Harmon kid could be good, and several of these guys could be good. I think that Myers kid could be a stud. He's 6'2", 200 pounds. He'll put on some weight, but the guy, He had 4 TDs in his career, and I think he was injured one of the years, and they show him playing like the last 3 years. I think his first season he got injured in 2016. And he had, in 2018, and last year alone, he had 4 touchdowns, 150 yards or more.
No.
No. I mean, like, he had...
Of 50 yards or more?
He had 4... What is that? For 150 plus. It says TD for 150 plus. So what does that mean?
I have no idea.
Maybe 150 yards receiving and 4 TDs? That can't be right because I'm looking at his stats. Yes, okay, 4 TDs. Anyways. Okay, that just kind of, went down in flames. The point is I think there's a lot of value to be had.
Yeah, exactly.
And like there's guys that they're not even mentioning, and I don't want to dwell on it all day, that we could sit here and be like, that guy's freaking great, dude. He'd be in the right atmosphere.
The guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was hard to stop. We played him,
yep.
And we had top defense, and guess what? He's hard to stop.
And that was when we played them. Myers was the guy when we played NC State that was better.
200 and something overall. So point being, after you get through like the top guys, I don't know what's there. But so let's move on. We've spent quite some time.
We were talking about wide receivers, and then we were going to talk about quarterbacks. But I mean, the fact of the matter is like, I don't know. I was listening to stuff saying like this quarterback draft it hasn't really been a quarterback draft as weak as this since EJ Manuel from Florida State was drafted by the Bills, which was 15, maybe? I don't know, but that's awful. Obviously, I forgot that for a reason. I don't know if it's as bad as the year that EJ Manuel came out, but...
How many quarterbacks in this draft do you envision having a NFL career where they lead a successful team, a winning team? Not necessarily Super Bowl, but...
Confidently, I have to say confidently, which means on 80% or better success rate there. I can't confidently say Kyler Murray because, that's a lot of these is going to have to depend on where they end up. Mm-hmm. But even still, I think there's very few situations for him, believe it or not, that he could be successful. I don't know about Drew Lock. Again, if we're talking about evaluating a person's college career, and granted, in football, it's the team and the coaching too, kind of like a discussion I had about Rosen. I just didn't see him get that much better. He piled up stats, but in the NFL, the teams that hold the trophy at the end of the year, and even in the college ranks, look at our Tigers, are the teams that by the end of the year, they're the best at playing together, at playing for each other. Okay? So, I don't know about that with Locke. Haskins has an arm. I don't know. I think he's more, Roethlisberger-esque, but he hasn't had a lot of time. I do think Daniel Jones will be successful. Will Grier, I don't know. I think Will Grier is going to be similar to Tannehill. Ryan Finley, I mean, we've seen him a lot because, again, NC State, Clemson. But, I don't want that to bias me on him because I felt the same way about another NC State quarterback that was enormous, maybe not heavy, but tall as hell a few years ago that I thought was going to be, that reminds me of Finley, that I thought was going to be at least solid, and that's Mike Glennon. And, well, right now he's not doing anything. I think he's, backup, but...
Yeah, he's on someone's
You don't draft, a quarterback, in the first or second round that you want to, young like that you don't eventually want to try to develop. Jared Stidham at Auburn. I mean, again, a lot of my question marks with some of these guys like Stidham, Grier, and Locke stem from their competitive toughness. Like,
Right. Well,
I don't know if they're going to be able to lead a team to victory.
Well, you made the most important statement, which was kind of the one I was looking for right off the bat. It depends on where they land. Because I believe that a lot of these guys' careers could be made or killed based upon who drafts them. I know that plenty of players find second life at other organizations later in their career, but you've spent a lot of your good years already by the time that comes around. So the teams that are looking for quarterbacks in this draft could potentially help themselves or hinder themselves by picking the correct quarterback for their system. I don't think, obviously, you don't stick Kyler Murray in a drop back pocket passer system.
Right. He's not somebody New England would typically see as, the successor to Brady.
Yeah, well, you either have to put him in a system that will move the quarterback and works with his skills a little better, or be an organization that's ready to change your system to work with him as a quarterback. He's also 5'10" and 200 pounds.
Right. So he gets hit the wrong way. And again, I said this earlier, like, I know he's quick, fast, what have you. And in college, you hadn't seen anything like it, but it was the Big 12 that lacks defense, especially special athletes on defense, and everybody in the NFL is fast. And the worst player on in the NFL was pretty darn good in college at one point. So,
yeah.
At the end of the day, that's why I have question marks about it. So this rolls right into, the first pick is Arizona. What is Arizona going to do? So, they bring in a new coach, college guy, trying to adapt that Sean McVay, young, high-flying type offense, attitude, the next thing, can relate to the players, we're going to have them around, all that stuff. Trying to find the new shiny toy. And the first thing he says before I think he even set foot on Cardinals campus coming out of Texas Tech is, oh man, if I had my druthers, I'd take Kyler Murray with the first pick, even though they kind of gave up the farm to trade up and take Josh Rosen early last year. And really at the end of the day, and now of course, was it a poker face because this week, the week of the draft, and really, maybe mid-end of last week, they're talking about, they don't have as much interest anymore. Or maybe they do. Maybe they're trying to come off the pedal, so then they do. But then what do they do with Rosen? I certainly think that they'd probably want to have some sort of deal in place, but maybe that happens on the day of the draft to get rid of him. I mean, I don't think it's not like he's costing you a lot, but try to get something for him. Okay. So you talk about good places. It's only, specific fits, and that's where this is a problem, where I think it is. All along, it was just a complete farce because Rosen, I don't think is that great, and I don't know that he'll be successful in the NFL, but he had nothing. He had nothing to work with. I love Larry Fitzgerald as a receiver, as current player, former player, individual, class A act, he should be first ballot Hall of Famer.
Past his prime.
Correct. I mean, they got nothing. So is that a good situation for Kyler Murray?
Well, I think
everybody will just key on him.
The quarterbacks that end up being in the best situations are usually the ones that are picked later in the draft because they end up on better squads.
Correct.
The player like Kyler Murray, I think, will adapt a little better to a lesser team just because he's so quick and he can create time and he can create yards. I think he'll even be able to do that in the NFL. It's just a matter of how much he'll be able to avoid taking hits.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it not only play into the fact that it's going to be all on his shoulders because they got nothing, okay, really on both sides of the ball, so the defense is going to probably hinder the offense. If anything, at the end of the day, he's going to be running for his life right out the gates. Okay, so one hit, man. I mean, like RG3 wasn't like a big dude, but he's bigger than this guy.
Yeah, RG3 took hits. But then you have the thing of, so they're not producing or he's getting hurt. Then you have this other guy coming in. Then you're losing continuity in your team, and then you're losing games.
I mean, they're gonna lose some of that anyways because they overhauled the coaching staff. I mean, they're gonna switch it up anyways. So the offense is gonna be learning something new anyway.
Because of that, though, is why I think, if you look down further, like Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Greer, as much as it kills me, maybe even Stidham. I mean, I think those guys might have a chance of going on to some teams and being good players for the teams.
I think if you look,
because they're going to go into teams that have more of a foundation already created for them.
Yeah.
And
but they may end up being backups
if they get in if they get in the right situation. Some of these guys might be operating as facilitators of the ball more than playmakers themselves. They're managing the game.
Look, if I think any team, if the Steelers. And right now, and we'll touch on the Giants, but I'm going to keep them out of it. If the Steelers, if the Chargers, if the Patriots draft a quarterback in the first or second round, because it'll probably be one of these guys, that guy I think is going to end up being pretty good.
Bengals?
The Bengals. Andy Dalton?
Right. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't put it.
But what I'm saying is like they have a good quarterback to learn from.
Right.
That at least has another year, on a winning team and a winning culture. You just said it. Like they have to. Who's going to be around and who's not. If you're going to look back at this and you can't really say a year from now, because I know a lot of people are like, let's reevaluate last year's draft, and compare it to our mocks prior to, and this, that, and the other. For quarterback, you really kind of have to wait a couple years, But if you look 2-3 years down the line, which one of these guys is probably going to be, at least solid. Mm-hmm. I say if they're on it's going to be whoever's on Pittsburgh. Yeah. Whoever's on New England, and right now the reason I don't say the Giants is because I don't know what the hell's going on. They're in shambles. I mean, like we've got potential. No, now it's like we're not taking a quarterback. We're going to ride Eli another year. I get it, but you have to. If you do that at some point in the season, because you're going to be riding the hell out of Barkley, you need to, especially if the season's for naught. You need to pull his reps tremendously, which for another day and time is a conversation as it pertains to fantasy football.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, there's your ups and your downs, but before jumping to them, I mean, like if I don't think that they'll take Kyler Murray in Arizona. They have so many other things, They need to get somebody to if they're going to go with offense, they need to go with somebody to protect them, which is line. And there's some great linemen in this draft, but not for the number one pick. I'd trade back for that. So otherwise, take D-end. Take a D-end.
Well, that's what makes the NFL so
that's why Bosa's the one.
Is because you're trying to put together all these players at once, but you only have so much money, so you got to get the right amount of guys on their rookie contracts, and you got to, be able to build and be able to sustain a team within the salary cap, which especially, I think lately most of the teams that have been doing well have had quarterbacks on pretty easy contracts.
Still under rookie deals.
If I remember correctly.
The new NFL. They can be good in the first in the rookie.
Well, that's because you don't have your
contract.
quarterback hoarding 50% of your payroll. Once you start putting that many eggs in the one basket, then it's how do you protect them?
Again, I'm going to use a la Eli Manning.
Right.
Didn't Drew Brees take renegotiate his contract to
Yes.
get paid less?
Yes.
And he's older because he knows but he still is
Tom
jamming
Brady's
just
done
so
it
the
his
team's
whole
good. Yeah,
career.
just so the team's because at the end of the day, then it makes it easy. Your job is easier if you've got good pieces around you. But you take all the money, then that's less money for the rest. I mean, it's a very easy concept to figure out. Mm-hmm. Okay, especially when you're sucking eggs. Then you need to. He should be volunteering that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk on the sports radio about
And I love Eli.
people
I do.
seeing the new path to the playoffs is working with quarterbacks on rookie contracts, like drafting a good quarterback, having him show up and produce, and being able to get it done before you have to re-up his contract, which is 4 or 5 years, right? Rookie contracts are usually 4 years, I think.
Nowadays, yeah. I mean, they're 5 years, but at the fourth year, it always or right before year 4 is when, especially if it's a good player, they start talking about renegotiating so that they'll do it like Odell Beckham's contract, like in when he was going into year 3, the discussion already started.
Well, there you can take the theory that's been used by some Major League Baseball teams, which is finding these guys that are making a difference and paying them immediately before they get the 3 years worth of stats to make you have to pay them even more. Like something the Braves did recently was they signed
Was it Cunha?
Acuna to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
And they did it before
He's still young.
Able.
Last year was his first full season as in the bigs.
And I think
Right?
and I think that's something that's going to bleed over to the NFL. I think a couple of teams have started signing their guys before year or 2 years before contract years are coming up. And I think that might be something that starts to get implemented to help ease the mathematics of the salary cap.
Yeah. I mean, like, just to, wrap up Arizona really quick, what are they going to do? I mean, I think they're going to go Bosa, which was what a lot of people were calling for a while ago after Ed Oliver, before the college season started, was projected to be number 1 and, I guess acted the fool a little bit on the sideline. I'm telling you, that's what dropped him out of number 1. There was a game he wasn't playing because of an injury, so he acted the fool. That dropped him out, and I mean, maybe it's subpar, but I mean, listen, Bosa decided to not play at all. So, at least Oliver was out there competing at some point. But Bosa is good, and that's where it went to before, that's who Arizona was projected to take for all the time until, Kingsbury was like, hey, I'd take him if I had my druthers, but now a lot of things
no
are
one
saying,
really talked about Kyler Murray in the NFL until really late in the season because of the A's contract that he signed.
right?
Everybody
and
just
then,
assumed he
and
was
then
gonna
he
go play.
won the Heisman. Then after that, made the college football playoff, and look, I think it's Bosa. Either that, or I think they drop back and collect some picks and take either a quarterback at that point if they still want to, which I don't think they will. I think if they were going to take a quarterback, it would be weird if they did take a quarterback, but it wasn't Murray. Like, what if later they do drop back and late in the draft take someone? It would be weird. But so, and kind of where I'm gearing a lot of this conversation is where we started before talking about Arizona is an outlook on the quarterbacks. So at that point, where's my list? Who's next? So you got Oakland at what numbers are they?
What pick are they?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think they're...
Here we go. They are pick number 4. in the first round. Okay, so I don't know what happened to it. These computers have a mind of their own sometimes. So Arizona, because of the chit chatter, I think, quite frankly, could have been the first team, which I think that's all for naught now. I don't think it's poker face, but they could have been the first team to take a quarterback. Okay, and they were number one. And then you have the 49ers who have Garoppolo coming back from an injury. They're not going to take a quarterback. Then you have the Jets who just drafted Sam Darnold. They're not going to take a quarterback. So now we're at the Raiders. What are they going to do? What are their needs? And is Carr still a viable option? Is he a good? I don't know, man, because I'm a Giants fan, and the Carr name is tainted for me. We drafted him what, number 1 overall back in the day, and he was David Carr, and he was god awful.
Yeah, I think that Gruden is less than impressed with Carr, and I know they just gave him a bunch of money, so I'm not really sure how it all works out. But I do think they're interested in a quarterback. I do not think that Gruden believes David Carr is going to be the quarterback that's going to take his team to the next level. So I think if they find themselves in a position to get a quarterback that impresses them, they're going to do it.
They've made a lot of moves. Okay.
Gruden's gotten rid of everybody. He
has, but they have made a lot of moves, and I will tell you, the one, I don't. Gruden coming back to the NFL to be a coach, a head coach especially. I didn't know about, and I still don't know about. But every year, this time of year, draft time, the one guy who I really valued, whose opinion about draft picks, especially that college to NFL transition, who I felt included the combine, but was way more of the evaluator of their overall college performance that they had, is Mike Mayock. I think I really like Mayock, and so I do think, in this time of year, this is where he should be able to really help that team. They did get rid of a lot of people, but they picked up Antonio Brown, obviously the biggest one. Then they picked up old man Tyrell Williams at receiver from the Chargers. Then they picked up Trent Brown at offensive line. LaMarcus Joyner was a good pickup as well. Getting him was a good. He's
a stud.
He's a stud. And then they brought Brandon Marshall in and Vontez Perfect and Tahir Whitehead. All for the linebacker, Brandon Marshall, the linebacker. Older, okay? The older guys that have also been in trouble. So, needs, I don't think somebody like Bosa would get to him at 4. I think that...
No.
You really see Carr. The difference between them and like a team like the Giants is Eli's old. Like Carr is still got a few years for sure, even if he's not the best.
No, yeah, you're running into a different situation with Carr and with Eli. Eli's downward slope is going to be falling off a cliff, I think. Whereas Carr is just going to remain inconsistent. So he'll have the games where he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then he'll throw 3 picks.
Yeah, but if you have talent around him, obviously, they got Antonio Brown. So, he's a talented guy. Hopefully that connect, the good thing about Antonio Brown is he got to come into the league and see the connection that Ben Roethlisberger and Hines Ward had.
I could see, yes.
And so is he going to have that connection with David Carr, Or is his ego gonna get too big and be like, yo, this young guy sucks? You know, the media makes him sound like he sucks, and well, yeah, he really sucks. It's like Odell Beckham today. It's like, buddy, you know, don't do that. He like put out like something on the socials, like a tweet, like, yeah, some nonsense about, you know, only losers don't want a guy like me or something like that. Or, I don't know. It's like, come on, man, don't go there. You know, there's a lot of fans that really loved him and still do and didn't agree with the trade, so don't do that. I digress. You know, I don't know if getting a quarterback right out the gate is the end. I don't know. I mean, that you're okay. So Kyler Murray will probably be sitting there based on what we're talking about, you know, with Arizona and here. So at number 4, that means Kyler Murray's sitting there.
Ooh, for Gruden.
Yes.
God. Gruden's a quarterback guy. I'm not sure that Gruden loves a small quarterback, though.
You also got to think about this. Think about this.
Kingsbury's going to take Kyler Murray number 1.
I just maybe I don't know.
You think it's just all a bunch of hoopla?
Yeah, I think they're going to take Bosa and work it out.
That'll make it very interesting for sure. So they take both. I mean,
keep in mind that the Raiders have how many first round picks? They've got 3 in the first round, 24 and 27, right? And then 35th.
And 35th, right.
Which is the second round. That's the third pick in the second round.
That's what I was just looking at. No, I think the Raiders, if Kyler Murray's sitting there, I do not think Gruden's a fan of a small quarterback like that. I think there's other quarterbacks on there. I think he'll be very picky about who he picks. But I think they're taking like an Ed Oliver there, or a Josh Allen, or, you know, someone like that.
I mean, a lot of folks had Quinnen Williams going. I could see that.
Yeah.
He's
if Quinnen Williams is still there, I think they'll take him, but I don't think he'll still be there.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets will probably pull the trigger. Or who's before the Jets? I said San Francisco or something. Yeah.
But
it'd be pretty wild though if Kyler Murray's sitting there and, you know, what you say. I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if
I think
Gruden's more of a bigger traditional quarterback type guy,
right?
And he's got that somewhat in Carr. It's just that Carr's ability isn't that great.
I think he'll go down to his number 24 pick down there, and see who's ready there. Because I think if he could get
Daniel Jones,
yeah, I think he'd be thrilled to get a Daniel Jones. But I also don't think he'll be scared to ride it out, like we mentioned before. If he doesn't, because, you know, Gruden is such a quarterback guy that I think if he doesn't believe his players there, he'll just wait for next year. I mean, like you said, he has David Carr, who's not old. He's not like, you know, he just isn't as good as I think what they expected and what they want. But it's not like, you know, you're going to fall off the map.
I mean, if you can, with all
like,
the picks
really
you have,
worry
and with
about the Giants falling off the map next year.
Oh,
if they don't have a quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Because Eli's cliff.
Well, I mean, look, here's the deal. The Laletta kid from last year, even though he got like in trouble from running from the cops because he like hit a cop on accident. He had an accident with a police officer.
Who's
and then
this?
Took him. The kid that got Giants drafted in like the 5th round, the quarterback from Richmond, who I kind of had high hopes for, Kyle Laletta.
Yep.
You know, I mean, like there is some sense of backups, or we'll find something. But you're absolutely right. I think with everything they've launched from the Raiders and the moves they made in free agency and the number of picks, particularly early. I mean, you're looking at how long is the draft? Is 7 rounds? Is the draft 1, 2, 13 picks, so they almost have 2 picks per round is what they're slated
They have
for.
3 first rounders, man.
They have three.
that's not-
Right. So what I'm saying is okay. So Arizona, I said Bosa would take Bosa. You say they're taking Kyler Murray. So for Oakland, you're saying I agree with you. Defensive line is basically
Yes.
what we'll say.
Yep.
They're going to probably go
D-line.
D-line.
Absolutely.
Okay. So round by round, right? So we've gone Cardinals, no quarterback, or you say they're going to take one. I say they're not.
I think they will.
So then you get to the Bucks. There's the potential they could take a quarterback, or they'll give up that pick to somebody maybe later who wants one, like the Bengals or something. But I think they're going to ride out this. I think this is the last year of his rookie deal, right? With Jameis, I think so.
Yeah,
I know that they didn't strike up a new deal, and not that he's earned it at all, to be quite frank. So the point is we're at my New York Giants talking about falling off a cliff. Like, what are they going to do? What are the Giants going to do at the number 6 pick? Is it going... Okay, so if the scenario's as you said it, and Kyler Murray's off the board, what are the Giants going to do? So now, and again, most recently, it's been the Giants aren't interested in the quarterback. The Giants are going to ride out Eli, and I do believe they could ride him out for another year to get to next year. Again, we go back to what I said from the get-go. 2 words. I was telling the fans when in New York early in the season, Justin Herbert. Next year, they'll be able to get him out of Oregon no matter what. So, I mean, they could do it, but
So why
if
would
that's
you
the case,
waste another pick this year on a quarterback?
I wouldn't. That's why I said
See, I
that's
think
where
they
they're
could
going
trade
with this.
down. I think they could trade down.
Okay, so you have your say.
No, I think the Giants sitting right there. Kyler Murray's taken.
All along, it's been Dwayne Haskins. The majority rule has been Dwayne Haskins has been the projection, and until really this week, it's like we're not going to go with the quarterback. So now everybody's like, okay, they're going defense. Which, as a fan, that's what you need to do if you're not going to.
I'm not saying they're not going to go quarterback. I'm saying I don't think they'll go quarterback at number 6 because why? Because Jacksonville's not taking quarterback. There's all these other players here that people are going to want to.
Why wouldn't Jacksonville take quarterback?
Well, didn't they just get out of Philly? Folds?
Yeah.
Right.
That guy's the consummate backup.
Oh, they didn't pay him to back up.
Okay. Well, what about Detroit?
Detroit, I suppose, could pick
They
up a
just
quarterback.
paid. I think they just broke off a year or so ago Stafford, but still, he's
old.
yeah. Okay,
No,
so the Bills won't. Denver, for sure. Elway's been eyeballing the shit out of quarterbacks.
Denver, absolutely.
Okay. Cincinnati, for sure. Okay.
Yep.
Bozo the Clown's over. Green Bay, no. The Dolphins, who did they just bring in? They just brought in somebody. They still have Tannehill, don't they? But they just brought in somebody. But I don't think
You're
there's
going
anybody.
a little deeper than they have Fitzpatrick.
Maybe it was. Okay. So, but they could potentially do
Fitz
it.
magic out there.
Falcons, no. Redskins, yes. I'm just saying because the Giants pick again at 17, right? Falcons, no. Redskins, yes, definitely. If the right quarterback is there, they're drafting one in the first round. Panthers, no, and then it's back to us again at 17. So, and I don't want to. I want you to have your say. I told you before. I mean, like. I don't know about Haskins. Thinking about Murray if he was there is fun. Was like no, and then yes. If we had weapons like him and Beckham and Barkley and Shepard and Ingram, but now Beckham's gone. I said early on, drop back, collect some picks, and draft Daniel Jones.
Well, exactly.
That's what I would do. I'd try to get another pick in the first round, maybe a couple in the third or something.
I sent you a screenshot of that yesterday. I think I was looking at a projection, and I sent you a screenshot of the Giants trading back and picking up Daniel Jones because we had already talked about that.
Yes, we had. And that was published yesterday? Well, it was that we talked about that a while ago. That would be it. And look, it's not, I mean, I know I'm a fan. I'm not claiming to be a guru. Think about it. It's Eli Manning. There's ties. It's David Cutcliffe. He's been coaching Jones. He's at Duke. He's a smart kid, dude. He might not be a brilliant. He's not going to be an idiot, okay?
Right.
Like, Cutcliffe coached Eli and Peyton. You know what I mean? Like, they need somebody that can come in and that Eli is going to know how, because he's not going to be able to step in this year, okay? I don't think anyone you get out of this draft class is truly ready to step in this year. Now, are some going to end up being thrown into the fire like Darnold was last year, like Rosen was? Probably, yes. And teams are more prone in today's NFL for these quarterbacks to come in, like I said to you earlier, within their rookie contract to either, show it or we're on to the next.
Yeah.
So
How is this kid out of Richmond? I've never even seen him play.
Kyle Lauletta,
Yes.
he's not bad and he's big,
He's
but
a big boy.
But yeah, he's very big and he's got a pretty good arm. His accuracy is a little lacking.
I mean, he's 2 years in. Let's see.
Well, this will be his second year. We drafted him. Last year was his first season. And like I said, when things started going south for Eli, even though they kept him in, it wasn't like the McAdoo show where they pulled him. When things went south for Eli, and it was there was starting to be chatter like right after that. This story hits the media that he was like arrested because he was like going to practice and was like speeding or something, and I think he like hit a cop car and like kept going, and the cop like was running after him, and he chased him, I guess, to MetLife facilities.
That's
what I mean? And then it's like It's like, oh man, like that's bad. That's bad decision making. Like you have to be.
That tells me
quarterback
you're kind of an idiot.
in the NFL is a big role, man. That's kind of an idiot move, and you can't do that.
Agreed.
So where do the Giants go if it's?
I mean, I think if that scenario could happen where they could trade back, and who are they trading with in that screenshot I sent to you? Like this one that I just saw has the same thing too, but they're oh no, they just have him taking him with the
trade
17.
with the Falcons.
Oh, there you go.
And the Falcons sit at 14. So
and
then
the Falcons
they'd have 14
and
and 17,
like
probably get another.
In that one.
Well, we would. If you move up like that, you're going to collect a next year one. You probably collect a couple in the late round, second, like something in the second, maybe.
Oh yeah,
later fourth
no,
round.
Yeah.
This year.
I was just talking about what the Falcons might be going
I don't know
after.
if the Falcons have that draft capital
No,
to give.
yeah. I mean, I don't.
The
think
bottom line is that's kind of what I do now. If Kyler Murray, whether he is or isn't on the board, and they hold that pick and they don't go quarterback, then they've got to go edge rusher in my mind.
Yep. How would you feel as
because I would love as a Clemson fan, I would love to have Christian Wilkins on the team or Dex, but we have Dalvin Tomlinson, who's like third year at Alabama. He's a hoss in the center. We have some all right guys at D tackle, and we have some serviceable rotational guys at edge, but getting rid of Pierre-Paul last year and now just getting rid of Vernon, which I don't disagree with Vernon. I've said before, he hasn't played a full season since we picked him up in free agency from Miami. Look, edge rusher is where we would have to go, and that's why. And I know this draft is deep at defense, especially D line, especially edge rusher. I think with the position they're in and that high of a pick, you have to try for one of these studs, man. These stud, whether it's Oliver,
DeMonte Sweat.
I mean, like I almost,
Josh Allen.
If Arizona doesn't,
Klee.
And as a Clemson fan, I love Klee. I think Klee needs other pieces in there, like really to make him shine.
No, the guy,
or else it's going to take him a while. Like Shaq and Buffalo's starting to come on.
To have a little Homer conversation here. It always baffled me how they, for all season, and this goes back to like how you're standing in like potential draft position changes over time. But they had Klee and Dexter Lawrence and even Austin Bryant in front of Wilkins at one point in time. Like maybe it was last year or something like that.
They had Dex number 1.
As a fan watching the game, what are you talking about? Number 42,
he's everything.
Runs that.
He runs that. He's smart.
Now, Dex is not that those other guys aren't good, but how can you put them all above? And I remember them saying that Christian might not even be in the first round, which I think is why he came back this year, because he's like, fuck that. I certainly am. But
and he wanted to win a championship. Look, this happened what, 3 years ago?
And now Dex got caught with trace amounts of
some bullshit.
Something that's not really a
like
performance
that, and that he was, when they told him that he was suspended, he laughed because legitimately thought it was a joke. Okay, and I'm not just saying that, but that's just the type of people need to know that this ain't no game. We're not. Clemson doesn't put up an act. We legitimately look for young men that are looking to be groomed into young boys looking to be groomed into young men. And that comes before even the football. We've run over, and this has been a long one today, but it's been a good one. And that's all right. We've touched on a lot of stuff, and it's been good. And the plan was to kind of do a GM for a day mock team draft. I was going to do the Giants, of course, as a Giant fan. Matt as a Falcon fan. I'll leave it the play GM for a day segment to tell you what I would like to see as a fan as being a GM, and like we'll try to go through multiple rounds as much as possible for each team.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be Haskins, man.
Yeah.
I do. I don't think they're going to and again, part of me understands the fact that look, running backs' life expectancy in the NFL is short. And we spent the number 2 overall, and he's a once-in-a-generation type back. Like, I wasn't sure. Maybe, he's still got to get through the sophomore slump, but I'm pretty sure that guy is something special. But it doesn't matter. I mean, you wear him down like he did in his first year, no less. So then you wait till next year to draft the quarterback of the future, which may need a year or 2 to get him going. And what do you sacrifice for that next year? Or are you to put other pieces around? Because you do need people on both sides of the line in New York. I think we're getting better on the line. I think this year will be better with Solder. I love the Hernandez kid we drafted last year. And then we just picked up Zeitler, who's older, from Cleveland in that trade we did for Landon. But, at the end of the day, I just, if they wait another year, so that's another year of wear and tear, it's going to be, a couple, 3 years before we're starting to get this thing, going, that it's already, quote unquote, rebuilt. So Saquon by that time, number 1, if he's still rocking and rolling, we'll need to pay him a new contract. And at the rate things are going, it will be astronomical.
That's why I brought.
And number 2, if he's not any good, well then none of that matters. Or if we've worn him down, well then none of that fargan matters anyway. So
one thing
I think we're going to take Haskins.
Gotcha. I don't think that's a bad pick. I think there's very good possibility.
I'm worried that he only started 1 full year at Ohio State. That's my concern. And there were times that I saw I don't need a runner, and he is not that.
No.
I need someone in today's NFL, though, who can move in the pocket and scramble out of the pocket and throw a good, long, accurate ball on the run. He throws the hell out of the ball. He does do that. I don't know how good of a scrambler he is and how that accuracy on the run is. I just, as much Ohio State as I saw, he only played 1 year. It's hard to evaluate that. So, and some of the talent he was up against, was, less than spectacular. So the good games that he might have the guy he threw he did step in and throw an enormous amount of touchdowns. So that's who I think we're going to take. You were going to say something before, if I might have lost you, but maybe for next conversation.
Well, no, you were talking about having to pay Saquon Barkley, in a few years, and how much it's going to cost at that time to keep him. And I was saying, I want to have, next time we do this, I want to talk more about the what I was talking about before and how it might be. What if the Giants came to him this offseason and said, hey, I want to hook you up with a 10-year contract?
To who? To
Saquon Barkley.
Early.
This is what it would do.
Okay.
This is what it would do.
But you can't do that for a
on.
running back, though. That's the problem, because there's no way they're going to live that out.
Well, okay, I understand. Running back, that's
you could
that's too long.
you could redo his contract at the end of year 2 as opposed to at the end of the beginning of year 4 or end of year 4.
Or like Deshaun Watson, for instance. The Texans go to him now and say, hey, let's hook up a 10-year contract. What will that cost now
compared to the future
versus what it will cost them in 3 years when he's got 3 more years of assuming that he does well. You don't have to pick Deshaun. You could pick, I don't care, whoever.
Patrick Mahomes.
Right, Mahomes.
Mahomes would be a great example. We want to put you on. We want to give you 10 years.
You know what?
Quarterback,
what that's going to do for you right now is instead of you making $1 million or whatever, you're going to make $15 million. But 10 years from now, 8 years from now, 7 years from now, you're going to be making $20 million when other people are making $50 million or whatever it might be.
Correct.
But
it's a whole other conversation, but it's actually a really fun one. I mean, that's a great thing to think about. I mean,
But I think that's where you run into the fact that contracts don't really mean anything. People just hold out and be like, I don't like mine.
Keep in mind the cap continues to go up. Anyways, but right before we close this, as we're doing it, I see this alert I got. Cliff Kingsbury, the new head coach of the Cardinals, reveals they haven't finalized the number 1 pick yet. Yeah. It is a process. The consensus is that Kyler Murray will go number 1 overall. However, first-year coach Cliff Kingsbury hasn't arrived at that same conclusion just yet, or he's not willing to tell anyone. We're going through things. Well, no joke, man. I would say the hay is in the barn.
The hay?
It is a process. I would say the hay is in the barn. Well, wait a minute. The hay is in the barn. Does that mean the decision's made? Or does that mean that I've heard the phrase, but to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know. Does that mean that the hay, because the quote is, it is a process. Oh, I wouldn't say the hay is in the barn. So yes, that means the decision. I wouldn't say the hay is in the barn. What he's got to do is number 21 there has to snuggle up to their slot receiver right there. Yep. So we'll see. But yeah, see, the quote he had from Texas Tech when he got the job was, Kyler is a freak. I would take him with the first pick of the draft if I could. before he even got to Arizona camp. So of course it's a process. That's you walked in, they already slapped your hand. You're like, yeah. Do you just watch, dude? What's his face is getting the NFL, getting a premier NFL job for probably for the Raiders. When is it that the Raiders go to Vegas? Like 2 years, I think now. Mm-hmm. So Gruden's the Raiders are gonna probably suck under Gruden the next 2 years. They're gonna back out of the contract, or he's gonna be like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, and to hate the criticism and cut a deal to get out of the contract, he still gets broken off some. Then they're going to go and they're going to they're going to bring Shitface back into the NFL down at FAU. What's his fucking...
Yeah.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin. That's who I'm talking about. Yay. All right, good times. Good day. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you on the flip side and we'll figure out the draft.